I call the regular meeting to order for Monday, May 26, 2025. We would like to acknowledge that this council meeting is being held on the homeland of the Tanaka people. Before we get going, I'd just like to welcome members of the gallery and anybody who is viewing remotely from home. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda of the regular council meeting of Monday, May 26, 2025? Councillor Stetsky, Councillor Bassett. Favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Can I get a motion to adopt the minutes of the regular council meeting of Monday, May 12th, 2025? Councillor Popov, Councillor Ray. In favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. First up tonight, we have delegations, and we have a delegation here tonight. The Cranbrook Youth Ambassador team is here, including Youth Ambassador Maria Picaro and Vice Ambassador Jana Thompson, who are going to give us a little bit of an overview presentation here in a moment. And before we move along into the presentation, we have members of the ambassador team here that are competing for this year's contest. We had Anna Adrian, who was, she's ill today, she couldn't make it. We have Kara Kakuno, Mariah Smith, and Simran Palmer, who couldn't make it tonight. They're unable to make it. But in the gallery, in their lovely burgundy outfits, we have Avia Peltier, Kayla Kosh, Nay Kim, and Paige Purnell. Welcome, ladies. So my understanding is that we're going to have the ambassador and the vice ambassador do a bit of a presentation. Yeah. The podium's yours then if you want to just step up, Maria and Gina.
Kisa Kukit, I am Maria Picaro.
And I am Jana Thompson, and we are Cranbrook's Youth Ambassador team.
We are proud to live on the homelands of the Ktunaxa people, who have taken care of the land, its creatures, and its people for its time immemorial. We invite you to come and learn more about their unique culture and language at the Ktunaxa Interpretive Center at St. Eugene Resort. Did you know that Cranbrook is the Kootenay Rockies' largest city and is the sunniest city in BC?
Cranbrook is also known as the base camp of adventure for the Kootenays, offering many golf courses, hiking and biking trails, camping, and many beautiful lakes. The outdoor activities in Cranbrook are endless, but so are the indoor activities. We have the Cranbrook Bucks hockey team and the Key City Theatre, which always has something going on.
Our city grew from the early days of the gold rush and the arrival of the railway station. You can experience this piece of our community's history at the Cranbrook Historic Center, which is home to the largest collection of trains in North America.
We would like to take a moment to thank everyone who made this evening possible and extend our best wishes to all of the candidates and the outgoing ambassador team. To the wider community, thank you for your warm welcome and hospitality.
Every year, we host a 3-day festival, which celebrates our community's incredible spirit. The Spirit of the Rockies Festival has everything from live entertainment to food festival, bocce, strongman competition, and the world-famous wiener dog races. There's something for everyone to enjoy.
We invite you to join us the third week in June for the Spirit of the Rockies Festival. We hope to see you there.
Good evening, your worship and members of council. The introduction you just heard is the greeting that we share in every community that we visit to help encourage people to discover Cranbrook and all it has to offer.
It has been an honor to represent the City of Cranbrook this year as your Youth Ambassador team. Tonight, we would like to take you on a look back at our year, which has included participating in 17 community events here at home, as well as visiting 8 communities in BC and Alberta, encouraging people to discover Cranbrook and attend our festival.
Our year kicked off right here at home as we participated in the Spirit of the Rockies Festival and Canada Day festivities in the park. Our adventures through the summer took us to Kamloops, Kelowna, and Lethbridge, where the City Float won first place for visiting entries, and the July Fest Parade in Kimberley.
As we moved to fall, we volunteered to help at the Grand Fondo, supported McPherson's funeral home in their fundraising barbecue, to raise funds for the Warm Embrace campaign, to bring a Tier 3 NICU to the regional hospital, visited the community of Oliver, participated in the Remembrance Day ceremony, were actively involved in recruiting candidates for 2025, and got busy adding festive decorations to the city's float so it would be ready for the Santa Claus parade.
From the magic of seeing the children's eyes as we rode the city float along the Santa Claus parade to singing carols with seniors at the Lions and Eagles Seniors Light Up Tour event, December was such a fun month to be engaged in our community. Additional events that we participated in this winter included the Heritage Fair for St. Mary's Elementary School, the Rotary Club Seniors Dinner, and the first meetings with our 2025 Youth Ambassador candidates.
2025 has been an incredible start to the year. Along with our 8 candidates, 5 of whom are here with us tonight, we took part in the Kinsman Heritage Day Dinner, helped serve at the 5th Annual Heart of the Community Gala and Auction, and participated in a community fundraiser so that we could actively give back to our community. We were the 4th highest fundraising team, raising over $2,100, and Naya Kim was the top overall youth fundraiser. We celebrated the 2025 candidates at their Ambassador Banquet and Ball.
Since January, the program training has been in full effect as we meet every Sunday for leadership and skills training and have spent 9 weeks doing weekly Toastmasters training with Kathy Simon and Jen Speaksma. We've done radio interviews and as a group, proudly wore pink shirts to promote the importance of kindness on Anti-Bullying Day. In early May, we took part in the Kootenays Children's Festival as we ran the Wacky Hair Chant and traveled as a team with our candidates to trail.
As you know, our program committee, along with an army of volunteers, builds, maintains, and operates the City of Cranbrook's float on behalf of the city. The design changes every 2 years, and the float pictured on your screen has now been retired.
Here are a few photos of the float in action. Our chief float driver is Joe McGowan, and you can see him right here in the Santa Claus parade. The float won first place for out-of-town entry in Lethbridge, and we participated in the July Fest parade. A fun fact, the youth ambassadors completely assembled and disassembled the float so that it can fit in and out of the trailer. We are grateful for Joe for empowering us to break out the power tools. Following the Santa Claus parade, we, along with a number of our candidates, dismantled the float so that it could be a blank canvas for the 2025 redesign.
The new float was introduced at Creston Blossom Festival, where we took first place for out-of-town entry and were excited to have Councillor Popoff there that day. It is a touch of Canada and celebrates 100-year anniversary of Cranbrook's Public Library, 60-year anniversary of the Youth Ambassador Program, Cranbrook's BCHL hockey team, the Bucks, Fort Steele and a new era under new local management, 50-year anniversary of the beaver being named Canada's national animal. We want to acknowledge and thank Bob Learmonth, Linda Birch, Raywin Sinhuber, and all the volunteers who help with the float. We are also grateful to the city for its continued funding of the float and look forward to proudly showcasing it in the year ahead.
On June 20th, the 60th Youth Ambassador team will be named. This program is a special and rich tradition in the city of Cranbrook, and we are truly honored to represent the city. We invite all of you to join us in the audience that night to support the incredible 2025 Youth Ambassador candidates. They are truly outstanding, and each and every one of them speaks to excellence in this community's youths. As our year comes to an end, we want to thank the members of the council, and in particular, Mayor Wayne Price, for your support and encouragement. Being one of these city ambassadors is a life-changing experience, and we will forever be grateful for the way it has changed our lives and ignited our pride in our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Great presentation. I'll go around the table here and see if there's any questions or comments for you here from council. And then I've got a couple of comments I'd like to make. Councillor Stetsky.
Thank you. you have been amazing representatives of Cranbrook right from that night at Key City Theater when you first got crowned. So thank you very much. Really appreciate who you are. You've been a blessing to the community.
Yeah. Good. Councilor Papa.
Yes, thank you. Welcome. I was wondering if my face was going to get into one of the slides. It was an honor to represent the city at the Crest and Blossom Festival and to ride in the convertible just in front of the new float. And the bubbles, the winds were changing every so I was getting bubbled to death in front of me. I did a wonderful job there, and congratulations on the first place prize. I also want to recognize two people in the crowd, both Laurie and Karen. Long-term dedication to this. Thank you, ladies. It's an honor. Question though, how does Joe fit into the float? He's a big guy.
That's a hard question.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, ladies. You can have a seat there.
Thank you.
So I'd just like to reiterate the commitment that these young ladies make. It's a personal sacrifice. They don't have a personal life, you know, in the year that they're representing the community. They really don't. The volunteer hours, and if you look at their day-to-day, they're in school. I would almost take a guess that all the candidates I've met over the last few years excel academically. So they're very committed to the schoolwork, but also your contribution in promoting the city. I didn't realize really how much impact you have on the community and how busy you are and the full extent of your role until I became mayor and started, you know, working a little bit closer. And I had lunch with Laurie and Karen several months back and thought, you know, as a councillor, probably a lot of councillors don't really fully understand and fully appreciate, you know, the amount of commitment that's there and the full extent of your role. So we thought it'd be nice maybe at the end of your tenure that the ambassador and vice ambassador come and just do a review and maybe have that an annual thing now. And certainly I know at budget time we did have some discussions and I think we kind of lost track of some history here. So this will help council also stay on track as well. Ladies, I mean, I've met you all a couple of times now and like I've said, that program, I'm a believer it should be into the school system. It is a winner. You're all winners. We know that. You know, at the end of the day, there's going to be two candidates that are the most successful at the end of the day, based on a number of things. But make no mistake, you're all winners. Certainly the volunteers, all the volunteers. Yeah, unbelievable. And, you know, I hate to, you know, you'll point or I kind of point out, you know, one or two, but Karen Penner, I don't think you can really mention the program without mentioning Karen. Karen's been there since day one in the program. So how many years is that now? How many? 59. So yeah, so you know, Karen got involved when she was 15 years old, you see. So yeah, so she's been there for years and years now, and Laurie is, we know Laurie, and she's no different. They're great examples for these young ladies. They're tireless in their life and their commitment to the city. So thank you so much. We really appreciate you being here. Okay, we'll move on now to bylaws. The first bylaw for consideration tonight is from Engineering Development Services regarding official community plan amendment bylaw number 4201-2025 and zoning amendment bylaw number 4202-2025 at 950 Wildstone Drive. The OPC is back for council tonight for second reading, while the zoning amendment bylaw is before council for first and second reading. Can I please have staff? Connor, you're going to give us a little overview of the report?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. If I can be half as articulate as the ladies in the Youth Ambassador Program, I've done my job well today. So this is OCP and zoning amendment. The OCP is coming back for second reading, as Mayor pointed to, and first and second for the zoning bylaw. Brief overview of the property. It is just located just off of Wildstone Drive across from Legacy Lookout in the Wildstone neighborhood. It is zone CD1, so that's the Wildstone neighborhood within the zoning bylaw, and it is a comprehensive development zone in the OCP. So what we would be looking to do for the amendments would, the OCP has a minimum and maximum prescribed density for this specific parcel, which is lot 4. That's 950 Wildstone Drive. And that would be looking to increase the maximum range of that density to 252 units. Currently, it sits at 126. So a little bit of background on April 28th. First reading was given to the OCP amendment bylaw number 4201, and council directed staff to undertake public consultation. Public notice for the OCP amendment was advertised in the local paper and then circulated to parcel owners, which there aren't many within 30 meters. So we sent it to the presidents of the strata associations there, and it made its way through the residents. At this point, we've received 66 comments. The comments are generally going over, there's traffic concerns, density concerns with the dwelling unit count, emergency access, Wildstone Drive, and share issues with the road, which is the primary concern that was noted. And those are that general overview of what the comments went into. So we are asking that council give second reading of the OCP and first and second to the zoning bylaw. We're not asking for council to direct us at this point to schedule a public hearing, as the main concern has to do with the road, and there is currently working on a terms of reference with the applicant to conduct a traffic impact assessment. And once we have that traffic impact assessment, we will know some of the recommendations that come out of it that have to do with the roadway. And so that's where we are today.
Great, thanks very much, Connor. Great report, too. Can I get a motion that council gives second reading to City of Cranbrook Official Community Plan, Our Path to Cranbrook 2042 Amendment Bylaw number 4201-2025, and authorize staff to schedule a meeting with the Advisory Planning Commission? Mover, please, Councillor Blissett. Councillor Peabody. Discussion. Councillor Stetsky, Councillor Popoff.
Yeah, having read through the report, of course, it was unanimously opposed by the 66 letters that came in, and I have seen other signatures as well. I guess from my perspective, I know the road is an issue, and I know at times there's interest in taking things through to third reading. But I'm going to vote against it at this point. I think ultimately, well, you can never prejudge in the end what council is going to do. But for me, I guess when I look at the official community plan and I look at people spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to buy a home in a particular neighborhood based on the zoning that's in that official community plan and an understanding of what their neighborhood is going to look like long-term, to then double the density in terms of the apartments block going in, quite frankly, I start to wonder whether our OCP has value. I think it should have value, and I think that this will be the point in time where we should just say no and save everybody some time and effort.
Thank you. Councillor Papa.
Yes, thank you. And good report in the council package. If I understand right, with staff's comments, the OCP and the zoning and the densities and everything all seem to fit within the current packages. It's not out of bounds. It's within the scope of what are the different plans and schemes and Wildstone neighborhood plans and everything else. And the 252, though it's double what it is right now, it's also within the general, it's within scope. Am I correct in general with that?
Councillor Popoff through Mayor Price. You'd be correct that it is within the scope. Now, with the OCP, the prescribed density to the particular lot is different than what the zoning bylaw prescribes, which is a higher density, which would allow for up to 296 units. Within the general Wildstone neighborhood, there's room to accommodate it. So it is within the general Wildhood neighborhood plan. However, specifically for this lot, it would need this amendment to go through
Thank
to proceed.
So if this was to pass, the 252, would other property owners have to scale back their number of dwellings? Are we giving to one and taking away from others? Rob?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say because there's a range from 900 to 1,500 units, but I can let Rob speak to that as well.
I mean, this Wildstone concept scheme was 20 plus years in the making, and it's evolved and evolved and evolved to something that we have to, I think, could seriously accommodate going forward with what's the right plan going forward. But are we taking it away from others, Rob, if we allow this?
So, Councilor Popoff, through the mayor and to the rest of council, from my perspective and the OCP's perspective, not necessarily. This is one lot within the entire Wildstone area, and only about half of the development lands are actually zoned and or developed. The remaining lands are still urban holdings. And as you recall, we did a change we're proposing the change for a section that's going to be commercial. That in effect is, if that's successful and it gets adopted, that's going to take that land base out of potential for development for residential. So I think there's probably plenty of room, and because there hasn't been that level of planning for the remainder of those lands at this point, because the current owner hasn't done it, I think we'll be sitting somewhere in the neighborhood of, well, it'll be in the hundreds of units just for the portions that are already developed. There's still, probably a couple hundred acres or thereabouts of remaining lands that are still yet to be planned. So anybody who's going to plan that would have to work within those parameters of the neighborhood plan density, or come back and look at increasing the density for that neighborhood.
Thanks, Rob.
Area.
So we're not being Robin Hood, taking away from one and giving to others. Everyone will still have their fair shot at whatever densification they want. With respect to the road, and I understand the current residents are not happy with what they think might happen. We don't own the road, the city, we don't own the road, we don't control the road, we don't determine when it gets paved, we don't determine the standard it gets built to. Do we have any say in where the road accesses and would access onto 95A? Is that a city responsibility to require the property owners to eventually put that road access onto 95A? Or is that also up to the scheme of ownership?
Okay, so there's two sort of road scenarios within the Wildstone neighborhood plan, one being the current road, which is a private road, and then there's the current Wildstone Boulevard, which is partially constructed as it was being constructed to facilitate one of the other development pods further to the west. That is a city public road, and through our road network plan in the OCP, that particular road is scheduled to be constructed. Largely, it'll be constructed as part of development. The city's not undertaking it. It's not within our capital plan to build that road at this time. But as development in those remaining lands occurs, that road will continue to be built. And I believe, if we remember correctly, the applicant for the commercial zoning had indicated that one of the commitments was that prior to any subdivision or development, that road would be extended. And then that will eventually connect up to Echo Field Road, accessing the highway. And then there would be likely a connection to the private road where there's a gate, and that's where the distinction will lie. And that's part of our road network plan in the OCP.
Excellent. So there's options. And just two more, please, Mr. Mayor. I really like the idea of having the traffic impact assessment done first, if we do go forward, before we do the public hearing. And further, I would not recommend, but require that the developer put on an open house before the public hearing. So we have the traffic impact assessment, other data that might be accumulated between now and then. And we've done this with other developers. They host public meetings, and then they can have the wrath of the neighborhood talk to them about it and get the straight story from them, and not have the city as the go-between. I don't know if we can require it, but if we can strongly encourage it, that would, I think, solve a lot of time and angst amongst staff and amongst council should this go forward. Thank you.
Sure, and I can just, so I don't know if we have a legal means to require it, but we'll certainly strongly encourage the applicant to do so. And according to the letters and our discussions with the proposed developer, they have been in discussions with part of the a team that's working on the road issue, so there has been some discussion. But we'll certainly let them know of this position. And yes, the requirement of the development approval information by way of the traffic impact assessment, it's a little bit strategic in that we didn't call for the public hearing because of the legal requirement of council can't receive new information after the close of a hearing. We wanted to ensure that because it's the #1 issue, that council can have all the information at hand when making that decision to schedule a public hearing, go further, so we don't have a public hearing, then you get the TIA, then we go back and rescind and do readings. So it was a little bit strategic in that way, just to make sure that council has the full breadth of the information, which will hopefully help for decision making.
Thanks very much, Rob. Councillor Ray?
Thank you, Mayor. From my perspective, I think there's value in moving forward with the process. As I've mentioned previously, there's a great deal of wisdom and expertise around the Advisory Planning Commission table. So I think there's value in having that table explore this issue further. Yeah, I think it would be premature at this point to stop the process. So, again, very important that the traffic impact assessment occurs. And in one of the letters from Jay Nelson, he highlighted that there's work on multi-party agreement regarding this private road, which I think is another factor at play. So it'd be nice to see that come together and how that affects the big picture. So I'm in favor of moving forward with the process. I think there's value in that.
Thank you, Councillor Ray. Councillor Bissett?
Thank you. I agree with Councillor Ray. I think it should move ahead at this point. I think we should be open to the information that will be provided by the traffic impact assessment, and also the information that comes from the Advisory Planning Commission, as well as what comes out in the public hearing. So I think it should move ahead, and we have to have open minds heading into that process.
Thank you. Councillor Peabody?
Thank you, Mayor. One question for Connor and Rob. With the traffic impact assessment, will that also look at the entrance going into Wildstone? And if something needs to be altered there, would that be on the city or would that be on the developer?
So through the mayor to Councillor Peabody, yes, I believe the terms of reference will require the analysis of the traffic impact at the intersection at McPhee Road. And we've also had discussions with Ministry of Transportation, and they're going to be reviewing the terms of reference to ensure that any of their needs are going to be addressed through the traffic impact assessment, whether it's the highway issue or not. And typically, yes, if there's any recommendations that are a trigger as a result of development, it's usually the developer that ends up having to do those offsite improvements to facilitate the development.
Thank you. Certainly from my perspective, I think it's a little bit early to stop the process. That's why we're here, is to deal with process. So, you know, I think it's imperative that we move forward with an open mind and stay open-minded. This is just one step in the process, certainly until the traffic impact study's done. And they've delayed the public hearing until that is done. So we need that information based just on the traffic impact study. Modi could stop the project. So even before, you know, we get a chance. So, you know, why wouldn't we just see the process through? And I think too, when it comes to density, Rob, I'll just throw this at you. When I was reading the reports, I think people do get confused too about density. So when we're talking about the density, in the context it said in the report, we're talking dwellings, X number of dwellings. This project is, I think, Connor committed to 1 and 2 bedroom. So if you think of 1 to 2 bedroom, technically a building code will say you calculate 2 persons to a bedroom. So potentially you could have 2 to 4 people. We've got all those other homes up there, those single family dwellings. They're anywhere from 3, maybe they got a bedroom in the basement, 3 to 4 bedrooms. So we're talking, you know, although you're putting more buildings up, you're talking population-wise and, you know, actually people contributing to that traffic at less than half the amount you would, or you could conceivably see where you're approving single-family dwellings. That make sense, Rob?
It's certainly, absolutely. I mean, I think from when it comes to the density, it is referring to the total number of dwelling units on across the board in Wildstone. And we typically use, I think the current number is about 2.3 people per dwelling on average. But as we know, you know, things are changing, times are changing, a lot more people are moving into homes. Certainly, when it comes to densities and dwelling units from a land utilization perspective, higher density with a smaller footprint is far more efficient from an infrastructure perspective, from a transportation perspective, than sprawled out. If you had to do 250 single family homes, you can imagine the land base that would take versus say the footprint of you know, the apartment buildings or townhomes. And yet you could have the same amount of people or potentially less depending upon the nature of the size of the dwellings and people who live in them versus the townhome layout. So, yeah.
Thanks very much, Rob. Yeah, so certainly my perspective, I'm not going to, you know, make a preconceived judgment here right now. I'd rather see the process go through. You know, to stop it now, I don't think we've given the process and the developer adequate opportunity to, you know, to see all sides of the issue. So I'm going to be in favor of this, just for the process. You know, at the end of the day, I think we'll all have to make a decision on that final reading, you know, whether or not the project will go through. So with that, anything further, council? I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried, and one opposed. Councillor Stetsky is opposed. Can I get a motion that council give first reading to the City of Cranbrook zoning amendment bylaw number 4202/2025? Mover, please. Councillor Bissett, Councillor Ray. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Pardon me, and Councillor Stetsky is opposed. That's carried and one opposed. Can I get a motion that council give second reading to the City of Cranbrook zoning amendment bylaw number 4202/2025 and authorize staff to schedule a meeting with the Advisory Planning Commission? Mover, please. Councillor Ray, Councillor Bissett. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried, and one opposed. That's Councillor Stetsky's opposed. The next bylaw for consideration tonight is also from Engineering and Development Services regarding official community plan amendment bylaw number 4203/2025 and zoning amendment bylaw number 4204/2025 at 941 Victoria Avenue North. The OCP is back. The OCP bylaw is back before council tonight for second reading, while the zoning amendment is before council tonight for first and second reading. Can I please have staff provide an overview of the report? Connor, you're up again.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, this is the 941 Victoria Avenue, which is just located off Victoria Avenue. It's the Subaru dealership that's there. And the OCP is regarding a land use change from neighborhood commercial to highway commercial, and now it's back again for the zoning first and second reading from mixed commercial C4 to highway commercial C2, which is just subsequent to the OCP land use designation change. So just a quick overview that the applicant had initially they began some renovations at the front of their property separate to this. Then they had outdoor storage out back, which was actually located on a parcel that was just south, so separate parcel. They consolidated the lots and they now own the portion of the parcel that was out back, that was outdoor storage. And now they're looking to construct an addition to the building to take that outdoor storage and move it inside and provide indoor storage. So this is the same part of the process as the last one. So it's looking to have council refer to the Advisory Planning Commission and submit to a public hearing, which would be different here. So scheduled for June 9th for the public hearing. And as well, public consultation went out for this one in the same manner as the last. Thank you.
Thanks, Connor. Can I get a motion that council give second reading to City of Cranbrook Official Community Plan, Our Path to Cranbrook 2042, Amendment Bylaw Number 4203, 2025, refer the bylaw to the Advisory Planning Commission for recommendation and submit to a public hearing to be scheduled for 6 p.m. on June 9th, 2025. Mover, please, Councillor Peabody, Councillor Stetsky. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Can I get a motion that council give first reading to City of Cranbrook Zone Amendment Bylaw Number 4204, 2025? Mover, please, Councillor Stetsky, Councillor Popov. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Can I get a motion that council give second reading to City of Cranbrook Zoning Amendment Bylaw Number 4204, 2025? Refer the bylaw to the Advisory Planning Commission for recommendation and submit to a public hearing to be scheduled for 6 p.m. on June 9, 2025. Mover, please, Councillor Ray, Councillor Peabody. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you so much. Thanks, Connor. Next bylaw for consideration tonight is from Engineering Development Services regarding servicing officer appointment bylaw number 4210, 2025. This bylaw is before council tonight for first, second, and third reading. We have Curtis on hand to give us an overview.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The provincial government, as part of the small-scale multi-unit housing legislation in 2024, created a position called servicing officer that council may appoint by bylaw. And in early 2025, they enacted regulation in regards to it on who council could appoint. So looking at the municipal engineer, planning official, consultants with the city, or just general employees of the city. The servicing officer is similar to the approving officer in a sense that it's an independent position with the city from council. The point of the servicing officer is to require, where needed, road dedication without compensation at the time of building permit. Historically, we weren't able to do this as a municipality. It was only at the time of subdivision, where the idea behind the provincial legislation is to speed up building permits so we don't have to negotiate, and it just becomes a requirement. So we're bringing forward tonight a bylaw to appoint the servicing officer position, and we're recommending it be consistent with the approving officer because it's very similar roles.
Thank you, Curtis. Can I get a motion that council give first reading to servicing officer appointment bylaw number 4210, 2025? Councillor Stetsky, Councillor Blissett. Discussion. Quick question if nobody's got one. How many do we plan on appointing additional? So we've got one right now. You're our approving officer.
So currently right now, we don't have a servicing officer. We haven't enacted a bylaw. Currently, in terms of the approving officer at the time of subdivision, myself, and then we've got Santana Patton. So there's two of us that act in that role as the approving officer and the deputy approving officer. So we were going to mirror that with this bylaw, that I would be the servicing officer and Santana would be the deputy.
Thanks, Curtis. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Can I get a motion that council give second reading to servicing officer appointment bylaw 4210, 2025? Mover, please, Councillor Blissett, Councillor Ray. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Can I get a motion that council give third reading to servicing officer appointment bylaw number 4210, 2025? Councillor Ray, Councillor Popov. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Good stuff. Boy, we blew through that, didn't we? Okay, moving on to new business. First, I have new business tonight is from Corporate Services regarding a detailed report for the gymnastics / child care and solid waste services Cranbrook Citizen Survey. Kale Lewis from the Discovery Research is also here to present the findings. Can I please have Kale and staff provide a visa over the report? He's up on the screen. Can you hear me, Kale?
I can. Thank you.
Yeah. Loud and clear there. The floor is yours.
Okay, right on. Thank you very much, Mayor and Council, and to Chris and Mark for giving Discovery Research the opportunity to conduct this research on behalf of the City of Cranbrook. I'll just attempt to share my screen here. Is that working?
No. Have we got a copy of that here? Okay. We can bring it up here if you like.
I might have forgotten to hit this button.
There it is.
Okay, there. Thank
Good
you
to
very
go.
much. Okay, so just talk about the methodology that was used for this research. We conducted a randomized mail survey such that all of the residents in Cranbrook had an equal opportunity to be selected for the research. 1,600 residents were randomly chosen. We ended up getting a response rate over 33%. So we got 539 surveys completed, which was 33.7%, which is an excellent response rate. Statistics generated from that sample size are plus or minus 4.2% at the 95% confidence interval. We weighted the data so that the representation of age is equivalent to the 2021 census, so that we've got a true representation of the different age groups around Cranbrook. As you mentioned, the survey was kind of divided into three sections. We dealt with the solid waste collection services, and then we went into the gymnastics facility and the child care facility locations. The solid waste collection services was divided into three sections. First of all, garbage collection services. First question.
Kale, can I
Yeah.
stop you there? I think you must have a double screen because you're sharing the presentation, like the slides, not the actual presentation itself, must be up on the other screen, what you're looking at. Okay, now it's moved, but we can do it here full screen.
Full screen?
Yeah, Ross can bring it up here full screen. It might be easier if you
Okay.
wanted to see the next slide. And then maybe just mention too, if you want to do in your introduction, there was some, just in terms of the randomized survey as well as the open to everyone survey, like so statistically valid.
Sure.
And just maybe talk
Yeah.
a little bit about that. And we're gonna, if you can stop sharing, we'll bring up the presentation on this side.
Sounds good. I've hit stop sharing. So yeah, we had two methodologies that were used. There was the randomized mail survey, which I spoke about. In addition, we had a congruent survey, the exact same survey, which is available to the public. I believe Chris Zettel was responsible for marketing that survey link, which gave everybody an opportunity to provide their feedback. We did not mix the two types of surveys. We used the statistically valid survey, the mail survey, because it was randomly chosen to base all of the results that I'm going to be talking about today. We did present the results that were received from what we called the public survey, and we did get a really good response rate from that as well. Those results are located in the appendix of our report. And what we found for the most part, because we had such a large sample size for that particular version of the survey, those statistical results were very similar to the ones that we received for the statistically valid survey. Now, okay, so can I control this to go forward?
So just say next slide, we'll advance.
Oh, okay. All right. So yeah, next slide. And I already spoke to this one. Next slide, please. So yeah, we have three sections of our solid waste survey. The first section was dealing with garbage collection services. So first question was, how often do you place your garbage out for collection? 77% indicated weekly, and 16% said every 2 weeks. Next slide. Would you support decreasing garbage collection to bi-weekly collection service? This would not result in a reduction in solid waste collection fees. So yes, 53% indicated yes, they would support that with the existing bin, and 12% indicated they would support it if they were provided a larger collection bin, 360 liters, and 35% said no, would not support that. Next slide. Would you support having 3 cart size options, 120, 240, 360 liters, available for curbside garbage collection? So the majority would support this, with 63% indicating that they would support it. Next slide. Are you satisfied with your current curbside garbage collection services? The vast majority indicated that yes, they are. They are satisfied with it, with 89%. Next slide. Next, we asked about their recycling collection services. How often do you place your recycling out for collection? 88% indicated that they're putting it out every 2 weeks or bi-weekly, and 6% said once a month. Next slide. Would you support having 3 cart size options, 120, 240, and 360, available for curbside recycling collection? So once again, the majority supported this option as well. 62% said yes, they would support it. 28% said no, and 10% were undecided. Next slide. Are you satisfied with your current curbside recycling collection services? 78% said yes, they are satisfied. 20% said no, they're not satisfied, and 8% were undecided. For organic waste collection services, we asked some questions having to do with this. What do you currently do with your food waste? So this was a multiple response. So 79% indicated that at least some of their food waste goes in the garbage. 31% said that some of their food waste goes in backyard compost. 8% of respondents will use a garburator, and then 2% use a kitchen composter. Next slide. What do you currently do with your yard waste? So once again, this is a multiple response. They were allowed to provide more than one answer to this. So 88% said they take some of their yard waste, if not all of it, to the Cranbrook transfer station. 19% said they will utilize backyard compost, and 14% will also use garbage, put some of their yard waste into their garbage. Next slide. Would you support a curbside organics collection program? 10% were strongly opposed, 15% were opposed, 22% would support it, and 29% would strongly support it. So that's a support measurement of 51%. 24% needed more information or simply could not decide whether they would support it or not, at least at this point. Next slide. Choose which statement best represents your opinion related to cost. So I do not want curbside organics collection. 44% agreed with that statement. I want food and waste collection, but do not want a tax increase. 29% agreed with that statement. And then 19% agreed with the statement, I would support a $65 to $80 a year increase for having to do with curbside organics collection. And 7% were not sure. Next slide. Would you support moving to bi-weekly garbage collection if the city provided an organics collection services? 41% said they would support it, and 51% said they would not support it. Next, two interesting options were provided, and there was one that was more strongly supported for the potential location for the gymnastics club. Option one, which was the old library site next to the Western Financial Place, got 76% support, and option two, Moir North, got 13%. And that doesn't add up to 100% because some people couldn't decide. And the last section on the survey that we're going to deal with in the presentation here, the potential location for the child care building, 54% indicated they would support Beaumont Park, and 31% preferred Gyro Park. And that's the end of the slideshow. Sorry about my technical difficulties, but yeah, is there any questions?
Yeah, thank you very much, Kale. Great overview. CO Virtual has a comment or question.
So thank you, Kale. Much appreciated. And just for council's information, as we have in the report for tonight, we just wanted to present the information so council has all that, and we're going to bring it back to the June 16th committee of the whole meeting for further discussion.
Yeah.
But any questions you have for Kale or any clarifications you want, just please ask.
Yeah, we're here tonight just to accept the report and not make any final decisions. So I'm going to read the motion here, and then we'll go to discussion. Can I get a motion that council receive the gymnastics / childcare and solid waste services Cranbrook Citizen Survey 2025 detailed report for information, and further that council refer the above report to the committee of the whole meeting of June 16, 2025 for discussion. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Bissett, Councillor Stetsky. Discussion, Councillor Stetsky.
Yeah, thank you. Very interesting report. Was there any indication from people that responded to the survey whether or not they thought city land should be given to the gymnastics club or towards childcare? So any indication, or I know that wasn't one of the questions, but did that come up at all from respondents?
I guess it's possible that in the comments, some people might have referred to that. Offhand, I would have to read. I would have to take a better read through the comments. But yeah, you're right. We didn't ask a specific question related to that.
Councillor Popoff.
Yes, thanks, Mayor. Thank you for the report. With respect to the statistically valid survey and the results of the respondents, were you able to opt out those respondents with respect to solid waste collection and organic collection, those respondents that were in apartment buildings or stratas? They do not receive city solid waste recycling.
That's correct. Yeah, the actual statistically valid survey has very few, if any, respondents who were in that category. So the people who answered it actually received the solid waste services.
So thank you. So you had the technology sophistication to recognize a strata or an apartment building complex, and they would opt out or not be eligible to give respond to those questions?
That's right. Actually, certain addresses can be identified whether they're multi-unit buildings or not.
Excellent. Thank you.
Beautiful. Councillor Bissett.
Thank you. It's not really a question for Kale, but more of a comment to staff. I certainly, as a councillor, appreciate this information. This is really helpful in moving forward, and gives us a much better insight into how the community is feeling on some of these issues, rather than just sort of our impressions from casual conversations with members of the public. So it's very helpful, and it's nice to be able to combine a number of issues into one survey, just for efficiency's sake. So I do appreciate that information.
Yeah, I really appreciate that comment, Councillor Bissett, for sure. It does make it a little easier for council. It's just generally overall, it's a democratic process, so it's the public's will. And certainly, we said come in, we're committed to transparency and more open communication, and this really fits the bill. So, yeah, thank you for commenting on that. CL Virtual.
Maybe I could thank you, Councillor Brissett, for those fine comments, and just maybe going back to Councillor Stetsky's question, I guess we could refer back to the previous survey when we did the budget survey. So one of the questions we asked there is talking about leasing or disposing of underutilized city properties. And certainly, you know, there's a whole other aspect when somebody sees a green space as a park. But there was a, you know, a fairly strong support for city doing things with land that is seen as underutilized or not used for other purposes that could benefit the residents or bring revenue to the city.
If there's no further discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Great work. And thanks so much, Kale.
Thank you.
The next item of new business is from Public Works regarding Rails to Trails Slope Remediation Project. Who do we have tonight?
Hi, it's Kirby Corvin
Hey,
here.
Kirby.
Hi.
Got you now. Yep.
Yep, great. Okay.
Floor is
Yeah,
yours.
thank you. So yeah, good evening. I'm here because a few years ago we started a project for on the Rails to Trails to assess and stabilize the rock slope adjacent to the trail. Working with the city of Kimberley, we got an assessment done, and now we are working towards addressing the highest priorities. In 2025, the budget. Council approved the city's contribution of $10,000. At that time, the budget value submitted was based only on the additional city contributions and did not include the funding that would be provided from the grants. The grants being the Trans-Canada Trail Grant and the RDK Trail Contributions Grant. So I'm requesting that you amend the 2025 capital budget to include these funding sources, please. And thank you.
Thank Kirby. Can I get a motion that council approve amending the 2025 to 2029 5-year financial plan to update the Rails to Trails Slope Remediation Project, PWO 0402, value from $10,000 to $92,000, and increase grant revenue by $82,000 funded, $52,000 from the RDEK Trail Contribution Grant and $30,000 from the Trans-Canada Trails Grant. Mover, please. Councillor Brissett, Councillor Stetsky. Discussion. Councillor Peabody.
Thank you, Mayor. So just to clarify, we're not increasing the budget using taxpayer dollars. We're increasing the budget using grant money.
Kirby, is that correct?
Yeah, Councillor Peabody to the mayor. That's correct. It's just we're just adding the funding from the grants. There's no additional taxpayers' money going towards this.
Further? Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thanks so much, Kirby.
Thank you so much.
Next item, new business tonight is from Engineering Development Services regarding the Phillips Reservoir UV disinfection facility authorization of alternative approval process. Can I please have staff provide a brief overview of the report? And we have Curtis.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So here we are now with the updated report after the few errors that were discovered in the previous version to bring forward getting Council to authorize and start the alternative approval process for the UV disinfection facility. One of the updates, if I get this wrong, Charlotte can add to it, in part of the city's contribution, because the UV facility is a designated DCC project, the funding from the city can be paid for through the DCCs. So the DCC funding currently is insufficient in order to cover the city's portion. So that's why we need to go out for the borrowing, but the borrowed portion can be paid back through some of the DCC funding. So if there's a little more questions on that, I think Charlotte can answer. So part of this package, there's the few different forms. There's the opening date of the AAP, the electoral response form, the information package, and then the 2 subsequent media releases notifying the public. And then this information will be routinely advertised throughout the community with our various means. So I'll turn it over for any questions now.
I will get a motion out first and we'll go to question. Can I get a motion that council authorize staff to proceed with the alternative approval process consistent with the community charter for the purpose of borrowing up to $3,500,000 for the Phillips UV disinfection facility? And further, that council adopts the attached elector response form as established form to be used by the electors to state their opposition to the proposed borrowing. And further, the council establishes the close of business 4:30 Friday, July 18th, 2025 as a deadline for receiving elector responses. And further, the council authorizes staff to use the most current City of Cranbrook list of electors as provided by the Chief Electoral Officer, which contains 15,727 names for the purpose of determining the sufficiency and validity of the alternate approval process. And further, that council establishes a number of elector responses required to prevent council from proceeding without the assent of the electors by referendum is 1,573. Mover, please. Councillor Bissett, Councillor Popoff, discussion, and I'll come up for air. Councillor Popoff.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'm all in favor of this. Just a question. There's a looming postal strike in front of us. Does this whole process at all require the postal services, or can we do without postal services on this one?
Through the mayor to Councillor Popoff, Charlotte may have something to add to this, but to my understanding that the forms can be dropped off here in person in particular, so the postal strike shouldn't impact, but that Charlotte can maybe add extra to that.
Councillor Popoff through the mayor. I don't have anything to add beyond what Curtis Penson said.
Excellent, thank you. Fingers crossed.
Hey, Charlotte. Next up, we have Councillor Ray.
Thank you, Mayor. So I understand if less than 10% of the electors submit the form, the borrowing request is deemed to be approved. What happens if more than 10% of the electors submit the form? What happens then?
So through the mayor to Councillor Ray. So if that was to happen and the city was still wanting to proceed with borrowing, we'd have to do a referendum in order to gain the approval of the electors to borrow the funds.
Certainly.
Thank you. And just for everyone's awareness, what's the approximate cost of a referendum?
Charlotte?
Councillor Ray through the mayor. I don't have the exact number, but I believe we've had in the past, we've put somewhere between like $40,000, maybe $50,000 in the budget for that.
Thank you.
Further council? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Thanks, Charlotte. Thanks, Curtis. Next item of new business is from Engineering Development Services regarding Habitat for Humanity land donation consideration for a housing project. Rob, you're going to speak to this?
Yes. Thank you, Mayor and Council. So before you tonight, staff is bringing a report for your consideration to enter into a potential partnership with Habitat for Humanity to conduct a project in Cranbrook. If you may recall, we received a letter back in September 2024 from Habitat congratulating us on the housing work we've been doing, including our housing strategy, which had just been endorsed by council. And they had indicated interest in wanting to come to the city and look at whether or not there was something they could do with us. As some of you may be aware, we had partnered with Habitat in 2024 or 2014 for a dwelling in Slaterville. So through all the housing work that the city's been doing, we've undertaken a number of land reviews to see what land might be available in the city. And this particular parcel that staff has been bringing forward for council to consider authorizing Habitat to conduct their due diligence on is located at 2600 4th Street South. And for all intents and purposes, it's essentially a single family size lot. Through our records review and the land review process, it was identified as having good potential for a development readiness having the least amount of potential restrictions or limitations. We do have very limited inventory of readily developable or buildable land. So in the work we've been doing, I just want to note that land donation for affordable housing was identified as an action item in which the city can help contribute to the housing, to addressing housing situation in Cranbrook, and is supported by council strategic directions and recommendation, and it's a recommendation in our strategic housing strategy as well. So taking into account all this, we thought we would present this opportunity to council for consideration of this lot in which Habitat could potentially undertake another project in Cranbrook. They'd like to do their due diligence. The one thing is this is not committing us to any specific course of action yet. What it would do is it'll allow Habitat to undertake some review of the site, potential geotechnical review. It has a little bit of a slope to it, because one thing that was made clear to us in our discussions at the staff level with Habitat is lots of people like to offer them land, but not all land is worthy of a project for them. So they have to take that into consideration based on their models. And there's a lot of information in the background of the report from Habitat. And so in closing, I think this would be a great opportunity for us to potentially look at entering into a partnership. If it's deemed suitable for a project for Habitat, we would recommend or require that Habitat bring forward a proposal for council's consideration for that site prior to any commitment on going through the process of a land disposition or donation to them. And yeah, I think that covers it.
Can I get a motion that council support Habitat for Humanity preparing a proposal for a residential housing project on the city-owned parcel located at 2600 4th Street South, and further authorize Habitat for Humanity to conduct due diligence on the parcel, including site investigation and removal, please? Councillor Brissette, Councillor Stetsky. Discussion. Councillor Stetsky, Councillor Papa, Councillor Wright.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Have we figured out what that chunk of concrete is sitting in the middle of that lot?
We don't know at the staff level, so that's one of the things that they would be looking at, I think, as part of the due diligence process, is to figure out what exactly that is and what the site entails.
Touch Papa.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Rob, during this due diligence process that Habitat for Humanity will be conducting, will we learn from them during that process if there's going to be any other further cost to the city, to the taxpayer?
I suspect that would be the case, yes. I believe that the intention would be to certainly undertake some geotechnical review, given the concrete slab. And then through that review, I would suspect they'd be more than willing to share any information with us. And then
it's likely that they're going to be asking for some further funding beyond the donation of the lot for $133,000, I expect.
I guess it depends on what the outcome of the study is. If I remember correctly from 2014, I wasn't directly involved, but if the site is readily serviceable, can accommodate a project, and doesn't require any additional work, I suspect it wouldn't be of any additional cost to the city other than the land donation for the partnership, but yet to be determined through the review. Yeah.
Councillor Ray.
Thank you, Mayor. So, I think it's notable that when we did the review of city lands, that we actually have quite limited lands available for our initiatives. So it's great that we happen to have this lot that's potentially available for a build. So that's really encouraging. For some of the other requests that come forward to council, that might be from nonprofit groups not for residential, for like the gymnastics club and things like that. That's when we talk about provision of city land. It's a little more neutral because it might be a license of occupation, right? But in this case, of course, it is actually a request for donation because somebody's going to build their house here and this is going to be a home. So do you want to just clarify that, maybe just for the benefit of the community, of kind of the nonprofit license of occupation kind of options, whereas this is an actual land donation request?
Sure. So I think just from a general level, when it comes to projects like Habitat for Humanity and the organization, they do require typically a land donation. So they become the owner, they become the project developer, and then they're the entity who then sells the homes. The unique thing with Habitat is they provide affordable home ownership, which is quite, it's a little bit different than a lot of other affordable housing projects, which, you know, might be government funded for that. So what they do in this case is, yeah, they need the land as a donation or a contribution from the partnership so that they can, you know, address the financing and all those things that come with it. Whereas some of the other initiatives that we've had in the city and we are considering, yeah, most of the time, the options are looking at license of occupation or leases, so that the city retains the ownership of that land. Similar to, we can look at the soccer dome or the BMX track. The city still owns those lands. I suspect it would be a different discussion at the council table should you be getting those requests to dispose of it for their ownership. And I think through license of occupation, often there's, you know, criteria where things cease, the land comes back to the city. Whereas if you sell it or you donate it, all is lost unless you have a reverter clause or something on it that gives first right of refusal to that land. So it allows the city to still maintain some control by being a partner in projects like that, where this is a little bit different in that the land goes to the agency and then they're the developer and then they can sell those units, which I don't know if you'd be able to do that if the city retained ownership of a lot, unless you went through some sort of building strata concept, which I could see being convoluted. And it wasn't something that they were interested in.
Thanks, Rob. Councillor Stetsky.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So it was 2014, I think, when Habitat for Humanity last constructed a house in Cranbrook, and having been directly involved in that, I can tell you it's absolutely life-changing for the family that gets to move in. So anywhere from 1 to 4 units on the lawn would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. And in discussion with, thank you, Councillor Stetsky, in discussion with Habitat for Humanity, we did point out that because of the new SHMU legislation, the increased allowable density, we strongly encouraged and suggested that if the project is feasible, that they look at something more than just a single family dwelling. And you know, through the examples they gave us in the package back in September, they actually undertook a multifamily site project in Castlegar, and I believe it was a fourplex townhome style. So they would absolutely be willing to look at creating more than one dwelling, obviously to fit within the context of the site. But I think that would be a great opportunity, whereas we're maximizing the land donation by potentially having, you know, more than one affordable housing units available. So, yeah.
Thanks very much, Rob, and please pass along your thanks to your staff as well. This is one of those projects that comes up and it's on the corner of your desk, and you know, it's taken quite a bit of time, so much appreciated to the staff. Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. We're moving into admin updates now. We have one admin update tonight from the CAO's office regarding the delegate meeting request process overview for the 2025 UBCM convention. Mark, you're going to speak to us about the updates here?
Yes, Mayor Price, just briefly, council's been through this many times before. They had the orientation session around submitting applications to meet with ministers. Last year, we met with quite a number of ministers at the UBCM convention. So just if council has items that we would like to, as a council, bring forward, there's the June 9th meeting of council, the June 16th committee of the whole meeting of council, which would be a good place. And then also the last one would be June 23rd as my deadline to submit the applications is before July 2nd. So we've got the 3 meetings ahead of us. Just wanted to put that on council's radar. Right at this point, you know, we've talked about a few items, but I'm not sure if there's anything that council would like to pursue. So please, if you do have an item, we'll have to get that through all of council and then give me a chance to enter it and get it submitted before July 2nd. So thank you for that.
Good. Thanks, Mark. Councilor Papa.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So having been to a few of these, it's really, as you know, it's valuable if we already have some staff to staff working relationships with that ministry. So then we can then meet, and instead of just speed dating, we can engage in more depth on that conversation. So my question is, between now and the submission deadline, how many different subject matters do we have actively engaged between the staff to staff level? And I hope one of them would be recognizing Cranbrook as a vulnerable population hub for our pre-hospital care and other recognitions. But they have to, we don't want to just go and speed date. It's, you know that it's a waste of time. Thanks.
Councillor Stetsky.
Thank you, Mayor. So did you want suggestions tonight, or you prefer that we leave them for the next 3 opportunities?
Anytime between now and, as I said, what I need is to make sure that all of the information I need to enter into the system is approved by council and before me, so that I can have it done before July 2nd. So whatever form that takes, we can work on emails and talk about it at council meetings or whatever over the next month.
Councillor Wright.
Thank you. I think we may have in our emails the forms that were submitted for last year's UBCM for meetings. So I will go back and have a look at that just to refresh my memory on who we met with. And I realize there's folks around the table who've been to many more of these meetings than I have, but I certainly think as representatives of the community, it is not time wasted. It is valuable in terms of representing our community and building that awareness about our needs. So very much in favor of these meetings, and looking forward to the suggestions coming from around the table to make good use of our time there.
Thank you. Further? Nope. Okay, that'll bring us down to Mayor and Councilor's reports. So start with Councillor Popoff. Naveen. Councillor Ray.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of items I wanted to highlight. I was not able to attend these items, but I hope to attend them in the future. So Saturday, May 10th, there was a very successful event held at St. Eugene Mission, Moving Menopause Mountain Symposium. Sold out in person. They then proceeded to sell tickets for virtual. They're still selling tickets for replays of the event. Hugely successful. So I just want to congratulate all the organizers of that event. Clearly a need for that education and support in the community. And then a week later or so, Friday, May 16th, the Cranbrook Chamber of Commerce at the Prestige held their event for women in leadership and networking in the community. And that was another very successful event. So congratulations to the Chamber. And just a quick shout out to all the athletes and families with KISA who are very busy right now attending soccer tournaments and representing our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bissett.
Well, thank you. A couple of inquiries. One about the pickleball courts at Gyro. Have we done anything about noise dampening there, or have we had a look at that at all?
Other than like the responses we've provided on complaints, like restricting the hours and having the signage change there. Other than that, there's not a lot we can do really without going to the fairly large expense of the sound deadening that the other pickleball court went through. So it's really comes down to locations of pickleball courts moving forward and where they're placed. And it seems that in the more sort of proximity to residential properties where they're occupied, it is problematic, and it's a lesson learned. So I think moving forward, that's something we're conscious of, but what to do with the ones we have now is a question.
Yeah, I mean, certainly when I think they were first established, we didn't realize the negative impact on neighbors. I do think, I mean, we have talked casually about Moyer Park location, and at least there aren't neighbors that close by. So I do think that is something we should be looking at, because it just keeps coming up. And, I mean, there was concern, about a daycare there, but honestly, that's nothing compared to pickleball courts as far as impact on the neighborhood. So I do think we as the city staff should be looking at Moyer Park to see if that is a location that we could move those courts to, and then just shut it down there. I think would be a possible outcome to look at anyways. And then another citizen was asking about what's happening with the road behind the college. And I I said I would ask.
So the road behind the college is a college project. It's not a city project, but we are coordinating with them. And, you know, the question just becomes, you know, what on the delays is what's the vision of the project? And the mayor and I actually, your timing is excellent because the mayor and I were at the college this morning meeting with the new college president. And so we're going to be working on MOU between the two organizations to clarify and ensure we're working on a shared vision to a fine point of detail of what that outcome will look like. Just there is, you know, a few things that are impeding the final completion of it, and they're minor. We'll get through it, but it's a college project.
Thank you.
Councillor Peabody.
Thank you, Mayor. Touching on the pickleball topic, I know we did do sound dampening at the Kinsman pickleball courts. Did that make much of a difference for the residents in that area?
Mayor Price through to Councillor Peabody. I really don't want to speak on behalf of the residents because we
Yeah.
still do get noise complaints from time to time. I would say it's an improvement, but I don't think it's a solution.
Okay, thank you. And then in tonight's meeting, we're talking about city-owned lands. And one that's been up for discussion in the past is the Baker Park Campground. I'm just curious, is that being, is that going to be running this year? Is someone working on it? Yeah.
So the Baker Park RV campground's still operational, and if you can recall, the impediment to that site to become developable for any kind of housing project is the sewer capacity. And as we're sort of developing the sewer line, inching our way up through the Victoria project and on its way upwards towards that area, that will eventually become a possibility. But at this point, other than something with very little human density on the site, the sewer capacity just isn't there. So the RV campground is the short-term fill in until that future date. Otherwise, we'd have to make a decision long-term on upgrading that campground. So it is operational at its current level, and so it is available.
Yeah, well, it's great to know too that it is viable as an RV park in that location. So that's good to hear. Thank you.
Councillor Stetsky.
Yeah, thank you. I think as most of you know, the farmers markets are up and running every Saturday, and certainly still a social center and a food center and great place to look for gifts as well. So every Saturday, right through till October now, I think. On May 22nd, I attended the Food Bank volunteer barbecue and working session where they asked all the volunteers for input on how to improve things. Really appreciate the work that all the volunteers do there. The number of clients, I think, is now over 2,500 here in Cranbrook. If you're looking for ways to help the community, they are looking for more volunteers at the Cranbrook Food Bank. June 7th, it'll be the 20th anniversary for the Pride Festival in Cranbrook. It starts at noon at Rotary Park. So that's on June 7th. I'm not quite sure, maybe I just miss it, but at times it seems like there are events, and they're important events that are going on from our Indigenous neighbors, but we're not necessarily hearing about them at council. I read about them sometimes afterwards in the paper, and so I wonder, Mark, or if you, Mayor, talk to Nisukan Casimir, if it's Mayor to Chief, or CAO to CAO, just to try and make sure that we're on their invite list to the various events that are going on. And, I remember a number of them in the past, and again, I've seen some highlighted afterwards that I wasn't aware of as councillor, and would really have appreciated the opportunity to be there. Rotary Trail, this might be as much for my Rotary friend across the way here as for the city, but who's responsible for the Rotary Trail through Cranbrook? And the reason I ask is that there are sections, and particularly behind Save On Foods, I ride my bike around quite often, and that whole section should be repaired. And so while I appreciate we're putting in new trails at Moyer, the existing Rotary Trail needs some work in a number of sections.
We just happen to have a Rotary member here that could probably shed some light on that.
Actually, that was one of my projects back in my early Rotary years. So the city owns is responsible for maintenance and operations and everything of the Rotary Way. Having said that, in previous times through various grant opportunities or direct fundraising from the Rotary Club, we will finance and actually do, in conjunction with the city, the hands-on repair and maintenance and signage and vandalism and everything else. So I think if there's something timely, and it's a good question, Councillor Stetsky, if there's issues that come forward through the city, send them to our Rotary Club and we'll work out some relationships for tackling. But the own and operation is the city.
Seal Fisher.
And thank you, Councillor Popoff. Through Mayor Price to Councillor Stetsky, if I could just ask, anytime there is a concern like that, that whoever has the issue, put it through the 311. And then if there's a record of the concern, and that goes right to our Public Works Department. So depending on the nature and how hazardous it is, that could elevate it or put it on a longer term list in terms of priority for repair. So I just encourage everybody to use the 311 service. So we keep records.
So you're confirming what Councillor Popoff said, it's a city responsibility to fix that up.
So in terms of the maintenance, yeah, I'd have to look at, the agreement, but I believe so. I haven't dealt with that question yet. But 311, everything goes through there. It's recorded, the outcome's recorded, and then we have a record of what happened if the repair was done or the person was communicated with. So I just encourage everyone to use that for any of those kind of questions.
Councillor Pop, did you have
thank you,
another
sir.
comment?
I just wanted to follow up with Councillor Bossette's subject on the pickleball. Absolutely right. I mean, pickleball can just be some of your worst nightmare, and certainly not good for property values. Have we, because it is city-owned land, have we dealt with the pickleball club through our capacity and their capacity to do everything possible to reduce the sounds, especially during, well, I guess throughout the course of the day and night, to minimize as much as possible, or are we there at this point?
Councillor Popoff, through the mayor, we've had numerous discussions with the pickleball club, plus had our own signage on site. So it depends. There's also public use of some of the sites as well, and it's a little less controlled. And so that's where we started signing and locking gates and all that stuff. So the concerns are more early hours and late hours, but certainly it is through all of the day. And I think the Kinsman one is probably the best example where we worked together and they did a lot of work to reduce the noise. But I think the ultimate solution is, as Councillor Bassett said, just not having them that close to residential properties is kind of the lesson here.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I did have a conversation with some of the pickleball organizers. The idea of actually making it a permanent year-round structure, which would be walls, and that would reduce the sound pollution as well. So maybe instead of a whole new property up at Moyer, maybe the current location, what is the engineering, the suitability and everything for it? But let's look at that site maybe as a first option, because it's already there, water and sewer, power, etc., and get rid of eliminate the noise piece as well.
And Councillor Stetsky has an additional comment.
Yeah, just quickly, since we're on pickleball. So as I was riding the trail a couple of days ago, there's a huge round pickleball sign on a post there pointing to the pickleball courts. Is that the city put that up, or is that the pickleball court people that put it up? But it's a huge round sign that says pickleball that way.
And I just have one thing to talk about tonight is on Saturday, I had the good fortune to attend Vince Sakino's 100th birthday up at the Colombo Lodge. Very well attended. Anybody doesn't know Vince? Vince was, well, I don't know, he worked for the city for a number of years. He probably was a 30-some year employee of the city of Cranbrook, 100 years old. And anybody that knows Vince, he's still a character. He's been a character his whole life. He's the guy that's always going to have a joke or something to say. And they had a full house up there, and every table was full. And he's 100 years old, and he went table to table to thank everybody for coming and talking. he left the table, and he had the whole table laughing, each table he went to. So there's Vince at 100 years old. So, you know, kind of hope I'm there at 75 even, but so it was a great day. So good for Vince. So that's all I had. So with that, can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting? Councillor Stetsky, whoops. Councillor Ray, all in favor? Opposed? Adjourned. Thanks, guys. Good meeting.